Datt is a deaf and mute high school girl. Because of her disability, she hardly has any friends and is always alone. After the recent death of Datt's single father, her godmother's family has been taking care of her. Her new god sister, Nina, is not accustomed to having a sister and hates Datt for no reason. The two go to the same school, where Datt is a social outcast, while Nina is one of the popular girls. In the opening scene, Nina and her group of mean cheerleaders make fun of Datt's disability. The school's guidance counselor sees this and asks Datt to join her table for lunch. Datt refuses and runs to her favorite spot in the school, a bathroom stall. She feels safe and much less lonely when she is alone. Her happiness doesn't last long though, because Nina finds her and angrily pulls her out for the ride home. Nina's mother, Olivia, encourages her daughter to make Datt feel at home, but Nina cannot care less. Since it wasn't her decision to take her in, she doesn't feel responsible to do Datt any favors. In the evening, Nina's father Paul arrives home and finds Olivia passed out in the living room. She has a drinking problem and suffers from depression. Because she's on several antidepressants, Paul takes care of her and gets her to bed. On returning back to the dinner table, he notices an awkward silence between the girls. To cut the tension, he suggests they learn sign language for Datt, but Nina cuts him off and walks away. The following day during lunch, Nina and her friends are gossiping, as usual. Her friend Michelle brings up the topic of virginity and makes fun of Nina for being a 17-year-old virgin. She can have any guy she wants, but is reserved when it comes to dating. Meanwhile, Datt comes across the school's empty music room and takes the opportunity to play piano. She used to practice when she was still hearing, hence she plays pretty well, even without hearing the music. One of the popular guys, Connor, hears her play and is instantly smitten by her. He stares at her for a long time before pulling away when his friend interrupts. Later, Datt meets Nina in the washroom. She tries to mind her own business, but Nina forcefully makes her wear lipstick. Just when Datt thinks that this might be a bonding moment for them, she looks into the mirror and discovers that Nina purposely smeared lipstick around her lips. That night, Datt has a hard time falling asleep because she misses her father. When she comes outside to get some fresh air, she notices Nina's bedroom door is open. On peeking, she sees Nina and her father Paul together in bed. The sight disturbs her to her core, making her run right back to her room. I'm not going to make a joke about that scene. The next day at dinner, Nina asks her parents for permission to spend the night at Michelle's. Paul doesn't allow her, but Olivia encourages her to go. When Paul stays adamant, Nina rubs her feet up his leg under the table, trying to seduce him into letting her go. He doesn't say anything, which she takes as a yes, and calls Michelle. Paul is mad at Olivia for always contradicting him. They get into a slight argument before he walks away. When Olivia is alone, Datt hands her a note asking if she can go to the movies. Paul offers to drive her there, and Datt agrees, even though she's uncomfortable. The movie hall is empty except for Nina and her squad in the middle row. Connor sees Datt sitting alone and wants to approach her, but the others stop him. Nina feels somewhat bad for her, but keeps on the act that she doesn't care. Datt catches her slipping when she closes her ears to see how it feels to be deaf, but she stops upon noticing Datt staring down at her. Later at night, Datt stays awake, thinking about her last encounter with Nina. Suddenly, she notices Paul coming downstairs and pretends to be asleep. He strokes her hair and calls himself sick. He seems to know what he is doing with his daughter is wrong, but cannot stop after coming this far. He agreed to take Datt in, thinking that her presence might stop him from going into Nina's room, but it clearly didn't help. In the following scene, Datt is home alone, playing on the piano. Unbeknownst to her, Nina arrives home from school and watches her play from the doorway. Suddenly, a piano wire snaps, making Datt curse out loud.
Shit!
Nina freezes in shock, realizing that Datt could hear them all this time. She pretends to have just gotten home and doesn't call her out on the lie. The next day at lunch, Nina sits with Datt for the first time. As Datt looks at her in confusion, Nina begins explaining little details about her private time with her father. She is clearly doing it to get a reaction out of her, but Datt remains calm. Before leaving, she also claims that she is going to use Michelle's gun to kill Paul at night. Datt still doesn't give her the attention she wants, but is afraid that she might be telling the truth. To get her mind off Nina, she goes to the music room again to play piano. This time, she notices Connor staring at her through the door. She gets nervous and tries to leave, but the guy stops her. He asks her out on a date to work on a lab report together. His plan fails when she shows him the already completed report. That night, the family is enjoying dinner together when Connor knocks at the door, surprising everyone. He asks Datt to come to the library to go over the lab report. She reluctantly agrees just when Michelle arrives and hands a bag to Nina. Datt remembers that Nina mentioned Michelle's gun and is nervous that she might actually be planning to kill Paul. In the following scene, Datt and Connor are at a diner. He talks to her about the report for a few seconds, but eventually tells her how he feels about her. Thinking that she cannot hear him, he shares details about how he imagines making love to her. Suddenly, Datt notices an ambulance drive towards her house and assumes that Nina has done something bad. She rushes home and is relieved to see that everyone is safe. Following that, she walks towards Nina's room and hears Paul undressing her. Nina clearly sounds sick of her father's behavior, so to help her, Datt breaks a statue. The noise interrupts the commotion and Paul returns to his room. Nina is left in her bed, crying, when Datt slips into the bed and holds her as she goes to sleep. In the following scene, Nina is ironing her cheer uniform while talking to Datt. She promises to kill Paul that night with the iron and burns the face off a teddy bear for effect. Datt still gets the impression that Nina doesn't know she can hear, hence she pretends to have not heard her plan. Later that day, Nina and Michelle cheer for the school's basketball team. Connor is on the team, but is so bad that the coach sends him to the bench in the first few minutes. After the game, Connor and Datt go by the pool and spend some time together. Connor thinks that she cannot hear him and starts talking about his sex life. Suddenly, Datt takes off her top, and the two make love by the pool. Meanwhile, at home, Olivia suggests that Nina and Connor would make a great couple. The comment makes Paul mad, as he accuses her of making her daughter dress like a slut. As they chat, Olivia takes her clothes off and invites him to bed, but Connor no longer feels attracted to her. She's not a teenager, after all. Nina returns home at midnight and is tired after cheering the entire day. Paul gives her a handbag as a gift and makes advances at her. We also notice that Olivia is awake in her bedroom. She seems to know what is going on, but still does nothing to stop her husband. Nina asks Paul to close his eyes, as she has a surprise for him. When he does as told, she approaches him with a hot iron. She is seconds away from burning his face, but right then, Datt returns home and interrupts them. Nina pulls back and claims that she is pregnant. Paul is horrified at the thought of fathering his own grandchild. Hence, when Nina asks him for $1,000 for an abortion, he agrees to hand it to her the next day. Following that, Nina goes to Datt's room and confesses that she wasn't brave enough to kill him. The next day is the school dance. Nina lends Datt a dress for the night. As the girls get ready, she reveals that she lied about being pregnant. In reality, she plans to take the $1,000 and run away to a different state. She hopes to become a stripper and make a lot of money in a new city. After confessing, she applies lipstick to Datt, this time without making her look like a clown. A while later, Paul is looking for Nina when he finds tampons in her bag. She had said that she hasn't gotten her period in over 6 weeks, so this makes him believe she's lying about the pregnancy. He shows her the tampons and asks her to tell the truth. Nina tries to make up a lie, but he doesn't buy it. He starts to slap her face and force himself on her. Olivia hears her daughter crying in pain, but does nothing. Datt also hears the crying and screaming. She stops playing, rips out a piano wire, and walks to the bedroom. While Paul is busy, she strangles him with the wire while screaming at him to leave Nina alone. Seconds later, she stops and he falls dead to the ground. Nina is in shock. She curses Datt for killing her daddy when Olivia comes upstairs. She is more shocked about Datt knowing how to speak than her husband being dead. At the same time, Michelle rings the doorbell to pick them up for the school dance. The girls quickly change their clothes and keep the bloodied ones inside a bag. Following that, they take the bag and go to school to make it seem like everything is normal. At school, Datt dances with Connor, but is too distracted to pay attention to him. Nina takes the backpack and hides in the bathroom stall, waiting for the party to be over. Meanwhile, Olivia is in the bedroom, staring at Paul's dead body with an expressionless face. She had fallen out of love with him a long time ago. The only thing she regrets is not being brave enough to save her daughter from a monster like him. Somewhere else, Connor calls Datt's name as she is leaving the party and is shocked to see her turn around. He discovers that she can actually hear him. With the revelation, he also realizes that she knows all of his dirty secrets. He calls her a psycho for betraying him and violating his privacy. Datt tries to apologize, but is shoved off. Knowing that he won't give her a chance at this moment, she focuses on more important matters. She gets Nina from the bathroom and takes her to a nearby creek. They bury the backpack with the clothes, planning to get rid of the body later. When Nina asks Datt why she pretended to be deaf all this time, she replies that she wanted to be like her father, who was also deaf and mute. The girls then quickly rush home, to the biggest surprise of all. Their house is surrounded by police, and Olivia is being escorted out in handcuffs. They ask what happened, to which Olivia claims that she killed Paul. She also apologizes to Nina for what she did. While the police think it's because she killed her father, Nina understands the real reason behind the apology. In the final scene, the girls watch as the police take Olivia away in the car. The punishment would have been much less severe if the daughter had taken the heat. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.